Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for War number 9 of Season 41. Team today is looking like Overseer and Torch with a couple of Magneto pre-fights along the way. And this was the war from last week. Obviously a lot is going on in the game right now with 8.2 and all the deals and everything, so I did delay getting this one out, but I was really excited about this war. I take 7 fights, including all 3 fights on the right side of the boss island, and I just really think this is a good showcase of Overseer. Before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about Overseer because there's some conflicting opinions about this guy on the top tiers. SSx kind of has this reputation of like always sending Overseer. And, you know, the thing is, he's a very solid attacker any given war season, but for the last 3 seasons, when we had Unsteady Ground for one season and then the 2 Planetary Endurance ones, he has the attack tactic. So basically, you already have this very solid science champion that is going to be taking some specialized matchups. But the fact that he has Neutralize and Fate Seal and that those neutralizes actually ramp up his gamma when abilities fail, that makes him that much stronger, and it allows you to kind of stretch him to take some matches that you wouldn't normally do. And at the end of the day, what that does is it makes it easier for your officers to plan. And we're going to see 2 fights in particular where I do stretch Overseer a little bit. We're going to take an iDoom rank 5 on node 50, for example, which is probably not something that would get assigned in future seasons. But in this season, it kind of just streamlined the planning process. And to me, that's all about what this is about. That's what the attack tactics do. It allows you to have a little bit more flexibility in your planning so that you don't just go to the same, 5 nuke champions that just get everything down, and you can be a little bit more creative and, I don't know, maybe even have a little bit of fun along the way. So with that said, they did leave Torch open. So when we take a look at this Longshot, it is probably going to be better to use Torch here because I do worry, since he has relatively high sig, about sending him to a special 2. Having the Incinerate immunity is going to come in handy. So with that, let's take a look at this first fight. Alright, so the main reason that he's placed here is because of the aggression prowess. When you fight Longshot, especially when he has relatively high sig, when you dex, sometimes the dex is going to get nullified. He's going to keep gaining power. If he gets passive and doesn't throw his specials, you can get into trouble. So the way I'm dealing with this fight is I'm trying to ramp at the beginning. So that's why we're doing like parry, 1 hit, back off. Make sure our temperature stays high, our smolder stay high. We're doing these like short range parries. Then we go into Nova form, and we're in a pretty good position to nuke him down now if we can just bait a single special 1. But unfortunately, we missed that parry. He's not throwing it. I'm getting a little worried because the prowesses are starting to build up, and I realize at this point he's just not going to throw it. So my strategy is to hit him a couple times. It's not enough to kill him. We're probably going to have to take a special 2 to block. With 7 prowess, it knocks off about a third of our health bar. We bait a heavy in the corner, and then we finish up with a special 2, and he goes down. So I do think my strategy of ramping him a little bit at the beginning instead of just like medium, light, medium right out of the gate really saved that fight. I think it's one of the important things with Torch when you don't have the pre-fight is to remember to build up smolders and temperature at the beginning of the fight, and that's why. Now, this is interesting that they placed Absorbing Man here because they did leave Torch open, and Torch with a pre-fight here is pretty much the greatest counter that you could ever have. And because we're, as I said earlier, stretching Overseer to take a couple fights he wouldn't normally take, I was able to fit White Magneto, which is just going to mean that there's no threat at all in this fight. White Magneto means all my parries are going to land, even with the right back at it node, and the Nova Flames mean that all of my, Nova Incinerates are going to land, and he can never become immune to them, and it's just going to be Torch versus a Mystic with lots of boosts and White Magneto helping him out. So there's no issue here. Ebb and Flow knockdown just means that we need to knock him down early which I would probably do anyway. I would probably parry heavy to start the fight as it is. But you're going to see, even compared to the Longshot, that this fight is going to go way faster and be way less dangerous. He doesn't have as much insane power gain, and the regen is not an issue here because we're going to be putting so many Nova Flames on him for so early, so long, and we get the attack bonus from the ebb and flow, and you're just seeing him melt here. So yeah, again, we actually often leave Torch open because you only get 3 bans, as that power sting basically takes him down the rest of the way. But if you're going to leave Torch open, you probably shouldn't place Carl on node 19 like that because he just walks through it. However, we did use our pre-fight, which means that will be the last time Torch is able to do that in the war. But because our planners are so good, it didn't matter, because the next time I use Torch, we actually don't want to use the pre-fight anyway. So now here is the first Overseer fight, and it's path for Omega Sentinel. And now she doesn't really have too much to worry about here. The reason that she is here, by the way, she's rank 5, is if you block or get hit by one of the specials, then she could potentially put one of her non-damaging debuffs on you, and that will stack with the special burst lockdown, which means you get 3 debuffs on you, and then she goes unblockable. And I personally do not have the full dex on any of her specials. I usually block the first part of the special one and then dex out of it. So if she were unblockable, it would be a little bit of a problem for me. But the key is to just not get hit onto the block by the last hit of her special one, and then everything will be fine. So I do a combat regen just because I wasn't feeling like I needed invuln for this. That's just a little help. And the reason that Overseer is completely safe here is because we have access to Neutralize and Fate Seal when we throw our specials. And then as these buffs are failing, it is feeding our Gamma. So this is what I'm saying. This is why he's so good with his tactic, is that champs that normally don't ramp him do ramp him. And now we're already in Cosmic mode with 6 Gamma charges getting into it, so you're just seeing all this crazy damage, and she has no armors, so she basically has like no tankiness, and she goes down. Now he could do that off this season, but I would have to be way more cognizant of my combos, like probably want to parry light, medium the whole fight. But you saw with that Neutralize and Fate Seal up, we just like went for it, and she went down like nothing. So rank 5 tech champion down with Overseer, just a good showcase of how powerful he is with this tactic. Now we come back to the Scarlet Witch. She gave us a little bit of trouble last war, just because she went unblockable like right out of the gate. So we are going to throw on an invuln. I have 2 left, which means I will be able to buy another one before the next war if we use both of them. But I was just feeling like I needed it the last time, so we're going to do it again. And we're just going to pray that she doesn't go unblockable after like the second combo this time. And this one does go a little bit smoother, fortunately. So we do have the Neutralize is going to help ramp us, which is helpful, again, because she gets various buffs along the way. And now we have 2 heal blocks on us now, and then that's where she goes unblockable. But we're already in Cosmic mode. We're already throwing special ones to get the stun locks. And then we're just a little slow getting out of that combo, but that's why we have the invuln, and she goes down. So that obviously looked a lot better than it did the last time. But that's just a meta placement right now. I mean, she's not that difficult to fight, but she can clip you, and things can get out of hand if you make mistakes. So fortunately, we got through that. And then this one is probably the oddest assignment if you were looking at it without remembering that he has the tactic. The reason he's so good here against his iDoom is his access to red damage, and that he has Fate Seal to get rid of the armor. So the way we're starting the fight is we're just baiting heavies, and we're punishing the heavies, because each time we do that, we get 5,000 red damage. Why is that? Because he's Sig 200, dude, and that's what he does. He retaliates, and then we're going to mostly push him to special 2s because we don't want him to be throwing unblockable special 1s at us. and it's pretty easy to just either block it or dash out of the end, and he won't be going into his aura that way. And at this point, I'm just going to throw a special, and we do go into cosmic mode, which I actually didn't want to do, but you'll notice that his armor is gone, and if we can keep neutralize up, then we're going to be able to keep the armor off for pretty much the rest of the fight. And the red damage off of our light attacks, as well as anytime retaliation kicks into play, is going to be getting through Safeguard, which is the main threat here. And then because we have Neutralize and Fate Seal, it's pretty likely that we're not going to ever proc his regen from his Sig ability, which means he will never get the Vigorous Assault and go unblockable. So that basically hard counters this fight. He's a very tanky lad, and he's a rank 5. And because he's Sig 200, he's even more tanky. I think that gives him some resistances. So, it's going to take a minute to get him down. So I'm not trying to do anything fancy. We're just trying to slowly whittle him down. But we see we have Neutralize up. We have Fate Seal up. We're about to get into the range where he would get the regen, but he doesn't get it, which is fantastic. We take one hit there, and that's pretty much going to be the end of iDoom. So 2 minutes for a mini boss with Safeguard, rank 5 iDoom using Overseer right there, right? So that's what I'm talking about. That's why I was able to bring White Magneto. That's why I was able to, do torch fights with this team and be able to take 7 fights to kind of free up the board for other people to bring really good counters, is because Overseer with Tactic is that good for fights that aren't his normal fights. So hopefully that point has been made, and any haters out there will start realizing that Overseer is pretty darn good this season. Anyway, now moving on to our final torch fight. This is America Chavez on one of her best placements, just because with the stunning reflection and everything, that she's going to be throwing heavies, and if she starts to get out of hand with the power gain and unblockable special 2s and stuff, it's going to be a bad time. We obviously don't want to use a pre-fight here because we want the active Incinerates to turn off the node. And we're going to start the fight by baiting a heavy and by punishing Utopian Parallel, which is just better than the other ones, to be honest. Like, we don't want Negative Zone or Dark Dimension in this fight. And anytime that we're staying on top of our new Incinerate procs, we're going to be able to get the Stunning Reflection timer down. We just have to make sure we don't parry when we see the blue shield. But by baiting her specials and just watching the timer, everything's going fine here. We're able to parry. Notice that it has like stunning vulnerability, so anytime we do stun her, it's all going to work out, and then she just kills herself with a power sting right there. We did go into Nova form, which actually doesn't count for turning off Stunning Reflection, but the damage was so high at that moment that it didn't really matter, and she just goes down. So again, leaving Torch open. Not sure why they put Chavez there, because he's by far the safest counter, as you could see right there. But yeah, it feels kind of fun to use Torch. I never really used him in my first stint with SSx. I wasn't the Torch guy, so it's kind of fun. He's definitely like doesn't have that much health, and he's only rank 3, so you can't make a lot of mistakes, but it is fun to use him in some of these types of fights. And then finally, we've got Maw on this 55 node. I took Maw on 20, and the strategy is going to be just about the same, only we don't have to worry about strike counter like the last war. So in general, I am never going to parry because I don't want to trigger hard knock life. It's difficult to keep track of, if it's going to be a disorient. If you re-parry, you might get 2 disorients on you. So we're going to play stun immune Maw. And we have not landed a heavy yet, and we just have to be a little careful, take a little bit of brute force. So we do heavy him off of that special 1 punish. I talked about that in the last war. It's the easiest thing to practice, to always get your heavy openings. He's just smashing our block, but everything's mostly going fine. If he just throws a special 1, we do the light attack, we punish. So the only thing we need to worry about right now, we do have 6 gamma, so we can go into our cosmic mode. Somehow he dexed us there, so thank God we didn't get punished there. I can't believe how fast the AI was to dex us in between a medium and a special 2. We do parry one time, which gives us a disorient. We have to watch out for the falter. This fight isn't going perfectly. You saw that we did have falter, so I made sure to not hit into him. He got to 2 bars of power, but we are able to just kind of nuke him down, and that's it. So anyway, that is this war. We did exceptionally well against Matrix. We won 4-2. Keeping it down to only 2 deaths is tying for the highest that we've gotten this season, which is fantastic. Really, really proud of the group. BG3 got a donut, and it felt great to be able to contribute at that level, to showcase Overseer a little bit, and to get to use Torch as well. So anyway, this was my favorite war of the season so far. We've got 3 more. I'm going to try to rapid fire those videos out over the next 3 days so that we can put a wrap to season 41 and let you know where we end up, as SSx is aiming for top 10 at this moment. So anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Let me know what you think of Overseer. Do you think that he's as good as I'm trying to make him sound, or is he not cutting it in the top tiers of war? You decide. Let the viewers decide. Anyway, that's going to do it. Thanks for checking it out, and I'll catch you in the next one.